It's not for just a select few like us normal everyday citizens, and these guys, because they sit in an office and say they run the city, they can do what they please. So make it universal. If you're going to put this in as a rule, then you got to follow it too.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Brampton, Ontario. And folks, before I get to our story, if you can, please go to sneakypatrick.com. If you're able to, make a donation. As you know, we are fighting to practice journalism in the Democratic People's Republic of Brampton. Evidently, the mayor doesn't like it when we ask insensitive questions, and he sicks the Peel Regional Police on us. We are fighting the charges we recently received because we do believe, unlike Patrick Brown, in freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Well, folks, I got to tell you, the kid gloves are off when it comes to Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He announced new Wuhan virus social gathering restrictions. The Premier is alarmed by the number of positive cases in certain parts of the province, namely Toronto, Ottawa, and here, Peel Region, which is where Brampton is situated in. And basically, here are the new rules. Social gatherings will be reduced to 10 people indoors and 25 people outdoors. The new rules apply to unmonitored social gatherings and organized public events held on private property or in parks. Now, here is the thing. I find it a little rich that the Premier is so concerned about social gatherings. This is the same Premier who in August went to a large wedding there was the wedding of MPP Stan Chow, and that would technically seem to violate the bylaw effective September 18th and the bylaw of the day for that matter. Furthermore, this is the same Premier who, remember back in Easter time, he told us, don't go to your cottages. We have to take this virus seriously. And what did Premier Ford do? He went to his cottage. And of course, here in Brampton, we have a mayor, Patrick Brown, who approves bylaws and then breaks the very bylaws that he is ostensibly putting out there for the safety of the citizenry, i.e. we caught him red-handed playing hockey at a time when Brampton bylaw was clamping down on kids of certain numbers playing soccer or cricket or baseball in Brampton's parks. Absolutely despicable hypocrisy. And you know, it's kind of funny too. The other day, I noticed Patrick Brown had a tweet. Well, I didn't get it off my phone, folks. Patrick Brown has blocked me. This is what he likes to do. But from another phone. See what I did there, Sneaky Patrick? I still saw your tweet. He tweeted out on September 14th, quote, had a good working dinner with at Ford Nation at the Ford residence in Etobicoke. We had a really productive conversation on ways to address the historic underfunding of Brampton's healthcare, our goal for Brampton U, and resources required for effective COVID-19 mitigation. I don't know, folks, does this strike you as kind of weird, somewhat creepy? I mean, this was the same Patrick Brown, this is the same Patrick Brown, I should say, who was mere months away from becoming the Premier until his own party, the Progressive Conservatives, staged, thankfully, a palace coup back in January of 2018. Do you remember Patrick Brown's Cersei-like walk of shame that night? Here, check it out.
Will you stay honest later, Patrick? Will you stay honest later?
I'll get one. Mr. Brown, are you saying these women are liars?
We're
are these women that are making allegations against you?
Women that have reported to CTV graphic sexual misconduct allegations.
So the crybaby that was given the bum's rush out of Queen's Park that day, the person who is no longer the Premier is now going to the personal residence of the Premier of Ontario. Isn't that kind of like going away with your ex or something like that? And he's discussing these kind of clampdowns on the Wuhan virus. Very odd. What do you think about, it's not just Mayor Brown. We've seen this kind of double standard from Doug Ford telling everybody back in Easter, don't go to your cottage, then he goes to his own cottage. We see Mayor Tory bragging about citizens getting fined for not having a mask or social distancing, and then we see him without a mask and him posing in group photos. What do you make of this mindset, which seems very tone deaf to me, that it's one law for thee and one law for me?
Well, I think basically, I mean, don't forget, let's put in Justin Trudeau there too, because he went for a little trip to a chalet. So, I mean, if this is what they're saying it is, then they should be following the laws that they're preaching. Okay, this is for all the citizens of Canada and Ontario. It's not for just a select few like us normal everyday citizens, and these guys, because they sit in an office and say they run the city, they can do what they please. So make it universal. If you're going to put this in as a rule, then you got to follow it too.
Can't explain that kind of behavior, and I can't really explain what Premier Ford is thinking either. And speaking of Premier Ford, as I mentioned, the bylaw kicks in, the social distancing rules, the new rules kick in September 18th. The following day is a Saturday. That's when the members of Yahoo Nation gather on the lawns of Queen's Park. I reached out to a member of Yahoo Nation. I said, does this mean you're not going to go? And she said, hell no, we'll be there, hopefully in greater numbers than before. So that might indeed be the first showdown regarding these new rules. And I got to tell you, in addition to the $880 Wuhan virus bylaw tickets, one of the penalties, at least for people that have a private residence that violate these social gathering rules, it's $10,000. Well, at least it's up to $10,000. So in any event, let's see what happens on Saturday. Rebel News will be there. It could be the first challenge to these new regulations regarding social gatherings. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies.
Hey folks, all the goods that you need to see about the Patrick Brown caper, it's waiting for you at sneakypatrick.com. And say, while you're there, if you can, please make a donation so we can continue to bring you the other side of the story.